Mlangeni really personifies the lesser known person who was able to carry on combining efforts.
A fighter. I saw a committed man. What he says is the truth, and you, the listener, should actually follow.
Mlangeni sacrificed his life to sit in prison for life. He was prepared to die.
We need sacrifices. People have to sacrifice.
Dedicated, committed comrade, a member of the Communist Party, member of ANC, in the liberation movement. They called him the robot. It summed up his personality. You put the switch on and say, go, and he just keeps going. Nothing will make him stop.
I know what it is to fight for freedom. I expected to be in prison at some stage, at some time.
To be a good leader, you have to know how to be led.
Mijn naam is Carlene en ik is 12 jaar oud. Wat ik op ik is bang om alleen te lopen. Van toe aan die pad had de vrouw bekracht. We is gezien hoe uit zo komen de bloed achter gewisseld. Hij zei Regina, maar dat is je choice, maar te zien het. Ik moet niet alleen lopen.
Over there is the school where the explosion took place. That is when 1976 erupted.
There were students along the way come up with slogans, Black Power. And everybody had to respond by lifting up your fist like that and also shouting back, Black Power.
So we started off in solidarity with students in Soweto, and then it very rapidly escalated.
The anger affected the workers, Tutsis, thugs, students, and so on. So when that happened, everybody.
And live.
Hello, everybody. I think we've all been on standby, waiting like this. Osmic in the background has been counting us on some 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're all here. I think we're all super excited, like I said. And I think we're just all looking forward to jump straight into it with the leading ladies of our industry. A big thank you to the Gauteng Film Commission. A huge thank you to Ntabling in particular for putting all of us together and curating the session. I think we're all special women in our different fields within the entertainment industry. So I'll start by introducing myself, and then I'll let all these other beautiful ladies that I am graced to share this platform with introduce themselves. My name is Felicia Naiwa. I'm a 32-year-old client services director for a promo agency. So that basically means that I specialize in short form content. So be it trailers or promos for any new shows or movies, I am the gal, right? And I've done a lot of producing, both long form and short form, with a big focus on the importance of creating content with long-lasting impact, content that speaks to people, content that builds our Black people. In the forefront, obviously, ladies. And then obviously doing a lot of NGO work, developing our youth through the drama. So drama and arts, developing identity for our young Black girls to kind of know themselves and put themselves in the forefront and say, yes, we are leaders, just like these other beautiful ladies. So I'll start with Gaupi to please introduce herself to everybody.
Okay, cool.
It's the mute.
Yeah, no, it's the mute, you know, was been on standby, and then when the time comes, action, or freezer. Trust us, trust me to be the one that's freezing and not muting as well. Hello everyone, my name is Gaupalelwe Kabe, but everybody calls me Gaupi. I'm a cinematographer or director of photography, as director of photography, as some of you might know it. I am from Johannesburg. I've been in the film industry for over 15 years now. Started off in the camera department as a trainee, worked my way up to the different stages of being in the camera department. So start off as a trainee, to being a loader, to being a first AC or focus puller. Went onto operating for a couple of years, and now I'm here. I'm a cinematographer, and yeah, I've shot some of your favorite shows.
Thank you, Gaupi. Tsecho.
Hi, I'm Tsecho Moleta Kanyile. I'm based here in Joburg also. I'm a producer first and foremost, but I also have done some research, done some writing. You know, you have to do a little bit of everything to build yourself up in this industry. So my background is I'm qualified as a journalist, but then I went into film instead. And similar to how people built myself up by being an assistant, I was a director's assistant, started training in production, in writing, in research, and then have gradually built myself up until I started producing my own shows. And currently I am a producer, or exec producer rather, on the Female Filmmakers Project that's run by the NFVF. So on this project, we train first-time female directors to write and direct their first short film so that they can enter the industry as directors, because there's still a lack. And so they can use that short film as a calling card now when they, you know, go and build their career in that sphere. So that's me.
Beautiful, thank you. Nadine.
Hi, Felicia. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. So my name is Nadine Klutzy. I'm from Cape Town. I work as a director. I've been working in the film industry for, let's say, 12 years. And I guess 11 of those 12 years were spent in the documentary field. So really doing everything in documentary, from research, production managing, a bit of editing as well. And then in the last year, in 2019, I branched into fiction film. So there I was one of 4 producers on the drama series Melody, currently screening on SABC2. And I directed a short fiction film called Address Unknown that's going to have its world premiere at the Black Star Film Festival on the 21st of August. So check that out. And then, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I, when I was younger, was always writing and wanted to be a script writer entering the university space. And then one of my lecturers felt that because of the style that I was filming my work in, he felt I would be a better documentary filmmaker. And I really enjoyed that space for a long time because it's such an interesting exchange of energies with your characters, and you really get to learn a lot more, like, and have this intimate connection to your country, I feel, as a documentary filmmaker. But I think almost this so-called return to fiction is also just like, it's a long time coming as well. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting space in my career right now.
Nice. Thank
Yeah.
you, Nadine. Felicia!
Stop it. Hi, everyone. I'm a documentary filmmaker and I've been in the industry for 25 years. I started as an actress and in films like Cry Freedom, Mandela, Dark City. And then I became a social worker. And then I decided I wanted to be a producer in, I think 1994, somewhere there. And I started as a receptionist in the film industry. So I'm one of those people who started at the bottom, and I don't give a shit if you've come out of film school and you call yourself a DOP or you call yourself an editor. I'm a person who believes that there is merit in how people like Gaupe started. That's why she's where she is.
Yeah.
It teaches you humility. It teaches you being humble, and you are hungry and you work your way up. And now I produce, and at times I direct, and most of the documentaries that I work on, I actually do the research. And that's it, really.
It's actually a lot. It's a lot of great things. It's not just it, really. It's a lot of great things, you know? And I think seeing that it's Women's Month and, you know, the spotlight is on us, I think it's very important that we kind of streamline our conversation towards all of the specific things that we go through as women in the industry, you know? And my first question to us all, and the guys that are watching who will give us questions later, so yeah. Coming into this industry, is it everything that you ever envisioned it would be, you know? And I think what's driving us towards that question is the fact that a lot of people right now on this panel are talking about, look, I started from the bottom, now I'm here, you know, type of thing. And it's that real and that raw in the industry when you start off, where you'll find yourself tying people's shoelaces when you're on set because you need this actor to just do what it is that they need to do. You'll make tea if that's what it takes. You know, you'll take phone calls. You'll do all of these basic interny things, right? When, like, I'll tell you, when I came into it, I kind of understood that it wasn't rosy. Like, I knew that it's going to be hectic. I knew that there would be sleepless nights. I knew that I had to prove myself more so as a female, right? To be really listened to and understood, right? So yes, essentially that's my question. Coming into this industry, is it everything that you envisioned? A part of it, a portion, all of it? What's your take on it? Gaupe?
Oh my God. I'm not going to be going all the time first. You know, I've been thinking about this question a little bit. And I'm like, now that I'm here, did I ever think that it would be like this? Did I envision that my path and my career will take on to be this? No. No. I think it's only maybe in the last 2 years, 3 years that I think in my head the paths that are becoming defined, you know. I think before the last 3 years, there was just a lot of fighting. There's just too many hurdles, too many battles, to the point where I didn't really have like a goal that I was going at. You know, I knew that I want to do this. I knew that cinematography is my life. This is all I know to do. This is I've never had to work elsewhere, you know, in my life. I've worked in the film industry since I was 18, 19. I'm now 35. So when I started, I think I also didn't have the perception of, it's going to be rosy, it's going to be fun, you know, I mean, which is the main reason why I actually got into I stuck through the challenges, because this industry is fun, it's exciting, it's hard, it's very, very hard, you know. But I didn't envision that I'd be where I'm at today, you know. I know that there's still a long way to go for me. Like people, like I'm still like the young and upcoming DPs, as people call me, you know. There's a long road ahead of me, but the road that I've traveled thus far has been full of life. It's given me life, you know, a lot of hurdles, a lot of challenges. Sometimes, you know, there was a point where I was like, maybe I should leave this industry, like maybe I should go do something else. But I am very, very glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I've stuck it through. I think now I've got a better goal. I've got a goal now, you know, I've got a path of, okay, this is what I'd like to achieve. You know, it's taken long, but yeah, I've got a goal ahead, you know, and I'm looking forward to the next, like the coming chapters.
The vision is clearer.
Yeah, it's no longer out of focus, you know.
It's like it's not foggy anymore.
Yeah, with every project, you know, with every project, the vision gets clearer and clearer and clearer, to the point where I'm starting to have a style of who I am in cinematography, and which is like an achievement when people can tell that you shot it by maybe the first couple of frames, like how you shot, you know. So yeah, so it is getting clearer.
Thank you. Xoliswa, I mean, you've seen, right, like the different kind of trends within our industry doing this, you know. How is it for you, like coming into it? Like you said, you started off acting and then got into this producing and like our social worker. Is it what you envisioned, you know, coming into it? All of the highs and the lows, is it something that you saw, like anticipated, or has it always been like, yeah, I'm taking it as it comes type of thing?
Xoliswa?
Xoliswa? Okay, I think we've lost her. Xoliswa is frozen. Network vibes.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, now I'm okay. Now I'm okay. Well, great. You know what? I don't even think I am where I want to be. I believe that I'm only just beginning. I think that for me, there are times when I've wanted to leave. Like 2 years ago, I wanted to leave the industry because I just found it really hard. Because people think that I've achieved so much, therefore it's easier. No, it isn't. My dreams keep getting bigger. I think that at the end of the day, one has to be really, really humble and have humility if you want to stay in this industry. It's important to remain hungry, for me personally, because when I say hungry, I'm not talking about not being able to pay my rent. I'm just talking about the desire of constantly wanting to improve myself. When I started in the film industry as a receptionist, it was when Mandela had just been released. And I was working on a very big production called Cecil John Rhodes, BBC. And I was the only Black person in the production team. And I made friends with Laura Lee Yowat, who is now at AFDA. And I remember they were so racist, these people. I used to go to the toilet downstairs and cry, you know, and come back. And Laura Lee and Krista Schamberger were very, very good to me in terms of saying, don't quit, don't quit. So we were in an industry whereby the Black people that we came across were Black people, were artists. But then I'm incredibly ambitious as a person, and I'm quite cheeky. So I used to tell some of these people that one day I'm going to be employing you.
Good.
No, I did. And also, mind you, I grew up in Zimbabwe. So, you know, I was educated in Zimbabwe. So that whole thing of fearing white people and all of that was out of the window by the time I came in, when Mandela had been released. But I do think that at the end of the day, it's really about tenacity, because you're only as good as your last film. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And I don't think, I mean, even if you look at someone like Martin Scorsese, who's 80 years old, Martin Scorsese, his last film, this one that has won many awards, The Irishman, no one wanted to give him money for that film. Netflix came and gave him money. Attenborough, if you read his book, when he wanted to do Gandhi, no one wanted to give him money. So when I apply for money, and many times I'm turned down, who am I to think that I am entitled to that? So I don't have that sense of entitlement. I'm incredibly ambitious. I'm now hoping that I'm working, and I'm hoping that my next documentary is going to get an Oscar, because that's really where I'm at now. If it happens, it happens. But if it doesn't, but that's where I'm at. Yeah. So you keep, you know what I mean? You keep moving. And also, you know what? You really, really, really need to try and be humble, because God can take away that talent, you know, because you're dealing with people, you know what I mean? So you can't, you cannot think you're better than other people. You are not, you know? And I was saying earlier, because I'm with young people, and what can I learn today? And please, can you refrain from asking me too much? I want to learn more from these phenomenal young people who are on this panel. You know, I've had as much exposure as I need, and we need to now focus on the young ones. So I want to hear more from them.
Thank you. So Nadine and Tseho, you guys have done documentary work as well, right? Just like Xoliso. I want to know, because we touched on this while we were still in our waiting room vibes and catching up, and how getting documentaries out there is not so easy, and also how people are receptive to it, right? Why do you think, as producers that are producing this real life content, why are documentaries so important?
Sure. Do you want to go, Nadine, or should I go?
You can go first.
I mean, it's you know, it's as specific or as broad as you want it to be, but documentary is it's such a special medium. It can be incredibly frustrating, which is I guess why we all keep on hopping out, do a little bit of fiction and come back again. But you know what Nadine mentioned about the connection that you have with your subject matter and the people that you meet and the story that you shape, you know, because it's real life, it deserves so much reverence, you know. It deserves so much reverence. It's treated a lot of the times like the step kid in the visual sector, because it's just so hard and it's not as sexy or as glamorous as it can be as other mediums. But the narrative that you can set, the way that you can touch people because it's real people is very special and very particular to documentary. You know, there's like, I don't know, I don't use examples like the R. Kelly saga, you know, How after years and years of everything being out in the open, or people just not being reluctant to move, and then a documentary series came out, and just because it's so visual and it's there and it's real people, and people now feel like they're in the same position as a lot of these women that were caught up in whatever was going on with him, then suddenly it became like a priority to move on him or prosecute, you know? And so in that way, you have to be so careful with the way you use the medium, but also then it's very special, the things that can come out, you know? Just how you move, you set agendas and you move public opinion. That's the most that's the most special thing about documentary for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nadine?
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think also what keeps people coming back to documentaries is that they expect the art form to be a form of truth telling as well, right? So and I think with my documentaries, I've also, as well as fiction work, been interested in just like histories that get erased and people that, you know, are not represented enough. And when I look at what the Action Commandant film did and just continues to do, it was such an exciting thing to do and be a part of. And how then, you know, the Action Commandant is a story of Ashley Creel, a young activist that grew up in Bonteville. He joined MK and was killed by the South African Defence Police. But you know, it was an attempt at telling his story holistically. But then he grew up in Bonteville, and for me, it's just always heartwarming how the community then, you know, they really then owned that film as well, you know. And I'll never forget, we did this really special screening where one of the street committees in Bonteville wanted to screen the film, and we're like, okay, cool. So there was a protest on a Friday night, and then we screened the film against someone's wall outside. And so it was this complete, like, just interesting way of how people were connecting with the material and continue to do so. I mean, Action Commandant is like this interesting phenomena of what it can do in Bonteville, but what it can do in Philadelphia, what it can do in a school like Wynberg, and what it, you know, and Wynberg. So what I think documentary really helps people, or is a tool in getting people to see themselves truthfully. And that's why it's so exciting to, because you also learn. I mean, the last documentary I did was for Mabata Moncho's exhibition, Voices and Choices, right? I did a short doc called In Conversation. So there I also learned things that I didn't know, and I could be in direct contact with health practitioners dealing with yeah. Anyway, so but yeah, like I say, it's that direct contact, it's the energy between you and the subject matter, but then also like this broader relationship building with audience that then interact with the film.
Thanks, Nadine. You know, you guys touched on some important things. Tsuhu, you spoke about, you know, documentaries not being as sexy, right? And I mean, for me, coming into a marketing space where on a daily, what I work with, what I deal with is taking content and creating promotional material, be it the actual promo or like a hot-hitting trailer to get viewers enticed, right? As producers, from your perspective, what do you think we need to start thinking about or actioning in terms of making documentaries attractive, you know, for the family to be like, hey, instead of running to watch a movie, I want to watch a documentary because I'm going to learn, I'm going to be aware about certain things, because there's a lot to feed out from documentaries. Like I was saying to Kolisa earlier, I really, really love her documentary, The Forgotten Children of Zimbabwe. To this date, I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that documentary. It was hard hitting. It spoke to me as a young Black girl. It made me, as much as it was sad and all of that, but it made me want to aspire. It just made me want to work hard. It wanted me to change things, right? So unconsciously, it has shaped me. unconsciously it has influenced my thinking, you know. So when I see a young Black girl who looks like they are struggling, or, you know, things aren't just looking up for them, I want to do something about it, you know. So there's definitely a big gap for documentaries being put out there, for us to learn and engage. Because above all, what documentaries do for the household, they allow us to engage. A documentary won't end and we all say, okay, good night, that was nice, good night. No. We're going to want to engage. We're going to want to talk about it. We're going to want to talk about our feelings and everything. So what do you guys think is missing in where's the gap in terms of making documentaries attractive? Is it the way we shoot? You know, someone like Haupe, is it a certain style? I don't know, a certain angle. What is it? How can we make documentaries attractive?
Look, I think there's several factors. There's quite a few factors. If I put my producer hat on, you know, I would say the budgets. The budgets in documentary are a lot less than, say, advertising or marketing, you know, because, you know, and then your creativity comes into play, but really we all want the sweeping cinematic look, the glossy look, you know. I mean, depending on what kind of look you're trying to get across, but a lot of the time budgets for documentaries are smaller. But then there are new methods these days that are around that make things cheaper. You know, there's new technologies now. You know, I mean, 10 years ago when we were coming into the industry, if you wanted an aerial shot, you had to really climb up high, or you had to hire a helicopter, you know, to get an aerial shot. Now drones are around. So technology moves at a breakneck speed now, and there's ways to incorporate that kind of glossy cinematic look that's a lot cheaper than it used to be. But also, it's also about how us as filmmakers, especially if we're younger, how we network with people around us and how we can collaborate, I think, is the biggest thing. So for your marketing, you know, do you incorporate social media so that it's a lot more accessible? You know, do you study how big blockbusters, you know, without having to take into account their budgets, but how they make things go viral? You know, do you then study that and see how, okay, do I incorporate a few of their elements into the way that I promote my film? There's a new term that's around lately in the documentary world called impact producing. So specifically how your documentary goes out to communities or is viewed by audiences. There's a specific person now who studies that. There's a budget set up for it. And then, you know, how do you take the documentary into the community and get people to engage with it, and build a whole campaign around it, the same way that, you know, a big blockbuster would have like a campaign manager. Whereas before, us as documentary people, you know, you would like, you know, it's going on broadcaster, you tell your friends, you tell people around you, you know, maybe you hand out flyers. It's just not as like big and involved usually. So methods are changing now in the way that we can package documentaries and how we engage with them. And I think it leads back to a lot of what everyone else is saying, is about you know, being open to learning, and also be open to working with people that you think are outside of your traditional norms. You know, documentary doesn't have to be your classic what is it, the talking heads where a person is sitting down and just relaying information to you. It can be cinematic style, it can be observational. You know, you can get into someone's life and follow them and immerse people into their world. So there's different ways that you can treat it to make it more attractive. I think I've kind of touched base on a lot of the ways that we can make documentary more accessible, while keeping the soul, keeping the heart of it.
Yeah.
Help it. You know what? I don't shoot a lot of docus. I haven't shot. So I'm more into that narrative, long form feature side. But the few documentaries that I've been involved in, right? I think it's mainly a budget constraint thing. You know, there hasn't been access to budgets where the filmmakers can be allowed to follow the family for a whole year without stopping, you know, and access to using the high-end cameras on dockies, because if you need to be shooting for about a year, you know, you end up going with what is cost effective versus sometimes what could be high-end and cinematic. What I'm learning and I'm seeing like a change. There's now a lot of attraction to documentaries because of accessibility. You know, since like the Netflixes and your Showmaxes, you know, it's available. You know, at first to try and look for a documentary, you have to go Vet's library, you know, VHS, to try and search for stuff that was shot. So it's like accessibility to it and marketing, you know, because you've got this little tiny budget and you're trying to make it reach. So you spend most of it on the resources that you need, and then you're left with nothing for marketing, you know. So people don't get to know about a lot of dockies unless if you are a filmmaker yourself, you know, unless if you go to film festivals. Yeah, I think, I don't know, because I mean, I'm not very, like, I think Sis Polisa would have a lot more insight, even though Asabatlu, but she would know exactly why documentaries have been seen as the ugly stepsister, you know. But I'm seeing a change. I don't know. I feel like there's been a little bit of a change, even like in the way that local documentaries are being shot. Like people are going more for the high-end cameras and the high-end treatment, you know, beautiful backgrounds, beautiful lighting. Because that, you know, when you shoot something that beautifully, like, people get attracted to it. It's easier to watch. It's easier on the eye. So people like that. And sometimes, like, I guess documentaries tend to be too informative, you know. So people have another that attention span of being able to sit through for an hour and a half, you know, getting new information and just getting new information, because they would say it lacks like action or entertainment. But I think the way filmmakers are packaging dockies right now by shooting them nicer and marketing, you know, the access to social media is doing wonders, because now you can go out there, you can shoot something, make it nice, and then you just social media it hard. People would know of it at least. So I don't know. It's right now. Dockies are my favorite thing to watch. Like I go on Netflix to watch dockies, you know. And once I've watched everything, I get pissed off and I try to go to Showmax. But I think the accessibility of it could make a difference in the future.
Yeah. And I guess that's why the importance of collaboration, like what Sekho was saying, is so imperative, right? Because if we can kind of create some sort of community and sustain and maintain that community, where I'm able to call up and be like, Nadine, girl, I need you right now, you know, help me, please come through for me. And it's so funny because I think everybody's just willing to help each other out. We just need to make that call, you know, get someone who does graphics, who can put together an amazing opening sequence for you, you know, someone who can package it, get someone who's amazing with sound design, who can ensure that you've got a beautiful score in it. So definitely the importance of collaboration, personally, I'm seeing as some good golden thread that's basically coming through into our industry and is becoming more and more prevalent, right? Nadine, I want to find out from you, when you create content, right? Like, why do you do it? What's that one thing every time you're brainstorming an idea and conceptualizing something? Why do you do it? What's the impact that you're going for when you're creating content?
Sure, thanks. Look, for me, it's like you really want to move culture, right? I think that's moving your culture from one point to the next. Like, I feel like if I'm not doing something different, if I'm not moving my people from there to there, then what's the point, you know? And I once watched an interview that Ava DuVernay did on about 13th, her documentary, and she was saying that a documentary might not be able to change the entire world, but what it does is it can change your associations with words. So now when you hear the word incarcerated person, what do you think, and so on. So that was a very interesting interview for me. And I was like, okay, yeah. So when let's use the Ashley Creel film as an example, when people hear after watching that film, when people hear the word Bonti, well, they should be able to think something totally different, right? So that's my goal with my work, to just like change the thinking to say that we are here, and we do exist outside of the millions of stereotypes that were ever created around us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Lisa, I'd like to hear from you as well about that. I know. You said not too much, but a little bit. You've been creating it, you've said, for like 25 years. Like, that's a grown adult, right? And you keep doing it. Yes, you've had your moments of sekoshola, but you keep doing it. Why? What's your why for doing it always?
It's two things. Sometimes I make a story or I do a documentary because something triggers something. Zimbabwe's Forgotten Children, I was doing a documentary, which is actually better than Zimbabwe's Forgotten Children. I was given carte blanche to do a documentary that I have done called Child of the Revolution. And so what happened was that I was doing that independently. It took me 9 years to do that. But what happened was that the BBC found out that I was doing a documentary in Zim. Then they wanted to get my film. I said, no, I'm doing it myself. Then they said, okay, can you go into Zimbabwe and anything that you want to do? So when the cleanup operation happened in Zimbabwe, I was so angry about that. So that's how I ended up doing Zimbabwe's Forgotten Children. So that was a knee-jerk reaction. Okay? Then sometimes I will have an idea of, I really, really, really want to do something. Like lately, I'm saying to myself, I want to do a documentary on Thabo Mbeki. All of a sudden, this came up 2 weeks ago. There are other people who are in talks in terms of getting to do that documentary with the institution. And I've told myself that, no, I'm the only person who was born to do this. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Why do I want to do a documentary on him? Because I think that is actually one of the greatest statesmen we have had, from a political, from an academic, from a pride, from so many angles. And I think that history is now beginning to remember him, because COVID is the biggest equalizer in terms of what he was talking about politically. That Black people need markets, Black people this, and we see what's happening in America and elsewhere. So I vacillate. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I'm hired to do a documentary. Sometimes someone says, Polly, I want you to direct this. Then that's not but they want my vision in it. So it just depends. And when I decide I want to do something, I just put my cast to the mast. And I just say, I am going to do it. I don't care if it's going to take me how long. I don't care if I'm not going to make money, because don't chase after money. Money comes. Money comes. You want to make money, go to advertising. And I've always been inspired to do what speaks to my heart, because Hailey Gerima said something very important. When you say, oh, I am doing this because I need to make money, pay the rent, then I will do my passion. What if you die doing something to make money and you never get to do your passion?
You'll be a miserable ghost.
Yes. So for me, it's things, it's knee-jerk reactions. But now, as I'm getting old, I'm working on 2 documentaries now. But when I'm finished with those, I am committing my life to doing women's work. But I want big budgets for women's films. That's all I am. After I finish these 2 documentaries I'm working on, which are going to cost a lot of money, I want to commit the rest of my life to doing women's work.
That is beautiful. Touching on women's work, right? We know that as females in the workplace, we go through a lot, right? And sometimes you are in situations where you're like, did this person just say this to me? Oh, so this guy is talking to me like this. Okay. So I want to know of a time in the workplace where you were disregarded or, made to feel inferior. I've been in situations where here I am presenting, communicating and talking to somebody, and a male figure has the audacity to say to me, I think what you're trying to say is, and then I'm like, no, I'm not trying to say, this is what I said, but I need you to listen, right? So I'd like for us to get into those hard-hitting facts, what really happens in the workplace, what females really go through. And you know how sometimes people will say things under their breath that are, I know you emotional, you're going through things, that's how they sometimes put it. So I'd like for us to talk through different experiences where you've had to be like, no, you will not speak to me that way. Nadine?
Yeah, thanks. Look, yeah, you're right. That happens very often, more often than you would like to.
Yeah.
And sometimes it really just gets to you, man, because I'm like, yo, you now standing in the way of my goals, And I think, I don't know what it is. I don't know, like, we have different ways of working, of course, and somebody comes in and like you're saying, just assumes, oh, because you're not doing their way or the standard or whatever, you must be wrong.
Yeah.
Or you're emotional, or I had a specific incident or two rather. I mean, I don't know, let me just say, like, I was on my menstrual cycle and I had to then use the bathroom regularly. And then they started shooting while I was in the bathroom, and I'm a director on the set. I came back, I was livid because I'm like, oh, so what exactly are you shooting? And I told you I'm going to the bathroom. I'm not going to the toilet for fun here. You know what I mean? So it's things like that. And obviously I didn't explain to the person why I'm going to the bathroom. I didn't feel like I needed to do that. Just respect my need to do that. And yet, I don't know. And I was like, and there was a bit of a fallout, but that needed to happen to like set boundaries. Which is tough because I don't come to work to fight. I come to work to create. And I don't even think about it as work, right? It's what I love doing, but now I must stand and in a war zone that I didn't ask for. And what's interesting for me is that sometimes you expect other women to also understand, but then there are women who have internalized the patriarchy, and it's not the support base that you expect. Like, people say to you, oh, you're too soft. I'm like, I'm too soft, but that softness or whatever it is, my whole personality is what I use to create my work. So if you're telling me I'm too soft or too this or too that, you're telling me don't be yourself. You know what I mean? And that doesn't make any sense to me. Because like I said, those are all the tools that I use to create.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if those things happen, and it sucks because, like I said, you didn't come to be this other person. You came to be an artist and so on. And I think it's just about creating boundaries, reporting if you need to report, and making and trying to discover early on who are really your allies here in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you founded your own company as well. What have you experienced having to break down those barriers?
Yeah, no, it gets frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. I work with women a lot, and especially on this women's project. Most of the HODs are women. but you do find instances, and I always thought that, you know, people were being dramatic when they said these things that, you know, you go on set and like men will disrespect you. I don't know, it's because like the bigger my projects got is because I created my own projects, and so I was the head. And so you get your nominal amounts of respect, but then you'll meet a wall once in a while where this person just refuses to see you. And you're just like, okay, this is interesting because you know, you're on this project because I brought you on to help me realize something. But here you are just completely undermining me. I'll tell a story which is interesting, you know, because I wasn't sure how to handle that situation. But for those of you who know me, my husband is also in the industry. He's also a filmmaker. We do similar things, you know, and so we'll know people in common. And so, you know, as part of my projects, now I work in an EP role rather than producer directly. And I bring on a young producer who's kind of, it's her first step up into a producing role, but she's kind of built her way up, you know. So I had a producer on last year. It's her first big project, but she's got backgrounds in the industry. She knows her work. She's very thorough, but she got into a confrontation with one of our male HODs. And this guy doesn't call me because he has a conflict, doesn't call the line producer, doesn't call me as the EP. He calls my husband because he knows him. He calls my husband to say he's got a problem with someone that's on my project. And I was like, I don't understand the thought process in that. I don't know if he had ever thought to himself, if he's on someone else's project, a man would call that man's wife and be like, listen, I'm having these issues at work, you know, and I'm going to talk to you now as the spouse. So I didn't understand what that thought process was. And I was confused by it. And I was like, okay, so this is the thought process. But either way, we work and we move on. And now I guess, know how he works and maybe will not bring him on again. For further projects, because I don't understand that thought process. But you know, you come across these once in a while, and a lot of the time, you know, you try and think to yourself like, okay, how do we get to this position? Could I have handled it differently? But then you think back and you're like, no man, but that's just not normal. It's not me. Something is wrong here with you, because he skipped 3 women who he could have spoken to on the project to go and call someone else who's not on the project to be like, hey man, I'm having this conflict. And I'm just like, hey, I don't know if that's the way you deal with things normally. But anyway, that's my random example of the things that you kind of you trip up on, but then you kind of just keep moving to make the things, you know, because you have to deliver at the end of the day. You have to be
doing what you gotta do.
To make sure that it happens.
I can imagine the amount of times you've had people on some a female DOP. Seriously. Like, what's that been like for you? Because knowing me, I think I'd get to a point I'm like, right. So how have you been dealing in it? Because for me, above all, it should always be about the profession, right? I am a professional. I've done this. I have earned my stripe. Forget the he, forget the she. I am here because I deserve to be here. But then that becomes so draining. Like Nadine was saying, I don't have to keep on giving you explanations of what's happening in my life. So how have you been maneuvering around the fact that you are this amazing, successful, Black female?
So I don't know, in the technical department, you know, like in the camera department, it's a bit different than like in the boardrooms, you know, where, you know, in the camera department, you know, it's structured. It's structured like a army, like army base. You know, the hierarchy of it is insane. You know, it's insane. So I think because I've worked my way up, you know, in Johannesburg, right? Most of the people that I work with that are male have seen me from my day one. A lot of them, you know. So because I you know, I climbed the ladder up, and they saw the progress. I found that by the time I started being an HOD and DPing, I didn't have a lot of disrespect. You know, the disrespect came in from folks that do not know me. You know, people that just think I just woke up one day and then I was a DOP. So, but the older male technical guys, even like in the art department, people that have seen me never really disrespected me, you know. But I did have an incident where I was working with a gaffer that was chosen for me, because the disrespect also from on my side comes mainly from like female producers, you know, that don't see me, you know. Like these guys see me because they know me. I've worked with them in different, you know, areas of my life. So I'll talk about the female producers. But these guys that I work with, like there was the one guy, I didn't know him. He was given to me by the production, like first disrespect. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, that's fine, because you don't want me to bring my person. That's okay. So work with this guy. And on the second kind of week of shoot, I'd asked him to move a light. And with the angle was a very funny angle, you know? So it was outside a little bit far on a staircase. And then just trying to figure it out. No, that's not the right, it's the stage above, you know? So you have to climb up one floor up, you know? And then he got there. And on the radio, you know, he just chewed me. I'm moving this light for the last time. If you ask me to move it again, I suggest that you come here and move it, because this thing is heavy. I was like, hold up. Like, hold up.
Let me get that.
Hold up. I'm like, hold up. So, you know, in cases like this, you get into, I get into my other mode. You know, I'm like, don't fuck with me kind of mode type of a thing. So first thing I didn't even talk any further with him. I went straight to production. I was like, you see this guy that you gave me? The guy that I said I do not want. He just told me this. And I'm very happy to say we can finish this week, and can you please replace him, because I will not be spoken to like that. You know, this is on the radio. This isn't a channel where the rest of the lighting department are listening in. You know, you do not, he wouldn't talk like that to a male DP. You know, I just felt like he was Zulu, and he was very much about his Zuluness and about he needs to be listened to. So, and now I was like, I'm not playing that game. Zulu mo, I've worked with gaffers older than you, and they listen, you know.
Yeah.
So you can't come here and tell me that, hey, mina wana mfazi, mina ngindota, you must listen to me. I'm like, you go to another set and do that, not on this set, you know. But then the disrespect that came from the producers, after have given me this guy, they still didn't want to deal with it. You know, they're like, we'll give him his first warning. I'm like, first warning for what? First warning for what? He's making it very difficult for me to work and achieve what I need to do. You all hired me, you know, to come and do this job. So I cannot work with this guy, you know. And believe it or not, we kept him on. He never got dismissed. He came, gave me a really flimsy apology, and it's like, oh, can you just give me a second try? I mean, I'm sorry about that. I was like, you know. But being black folk to another black folk, you're like, okay, let me just give this guy another shot, because you're thinking, you know, you're thinking about his kids. You're thinking it's tricky, but I'm like, if you talk to me ever like that, ever again. But needless to say, I've never worked with him since then. Yeah.
Yeah. To think, you know, being a female, because I've got 2 kids, so everything I do thinking about them all the time. And even if I have to discipline a member of my team, it's always like, ooh, bagiti mara, if I then ish ungasaphindi ne. But I guess it doesn't really help, because somehow the person's going to keep taking chances, until you kind of get to a point where you're like, I will not tolerate the BS. It's my final word. And I'm sorry, if you're not going to follow my rules, then we can't do this, because this is a collaboration. If I'm giving 100%, you need to give 100% as well. I'd like for us to speak about, you mentioned here and there about, yes, Koliswa?
The whole thing about women being disrespected, we need to talk about issues of race as well, because people think that I have achieved so much. I'm telling you, the amount of bullshit, the amount of disrespect, where you come onto a project and you say, this is who I want to work with, and the racism, it's absolutely awful. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And for me, there are times when I've really had to throw a nigger bitch fit. Where I've just been like, look here, I have 2 BAFTAs, I have a Peabody, I have a Emmy Award. There is no black person or white person in this country, male or female, who has that. So I don't. You know what I'm trying to say? And sometimes I found myself doing that, because the level of disrespect and racism, where people actually are prepared, they know what they're getting out of you when they give you a job. But once you're working on that job, like what happened to Haupi? That producer is not a smart producer, because what a smart producer does is a producer who's going to say, I want the best for this product. So if my director is not happy, if my DOP is not happy, then I am not going to have a good product. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And the disrespect, we are still having it. But then for me, Nina, I fight. I fight. And I just go poof, 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 poof. I fight. And at the end of the day, I will just go there and I'll just say, what are you going to say? I don't have to say it, because I am standing on the shoulders of giants. And I always tell young women that you must fight. No one is going to give you this thing. And if you become unpopular, tough titty. Because what matters at the end of the day is that thing that we all go see at the cinema. So you girls, you must fight. Haupi, you've got currency, my dear. You should have walked out. You've got she's difficult. Don't worry. If you are good at what you do, smart people will employ you. Because there's also a lot of dead wood around. There's a lot of mediocrity around that we reward. We reward a lot of mediocrity.
Because we get used to it and we accept it, even though it's not right. I'm so happy to hear you say that, Kolisa, because we have to start speaking out. No, you're not that saying that speak out even though your voice is shaking.
It's shaking.
And I mean, for me, it takes little practical things that we need to start doing to really feel the power within ourselves. When I turned 30, so I'm 32, so it hasn't been very long, ne? But when I turned 30, I made a vow to myself that I will question, I will debate, I will negotiate where needed, because my voice is valid, So when I walk into a meeting, I want the big chair. Why am I not the one sitting there? Maybe I'm not chairing this meeting, but why can I not? So and as simple as that sounds, right? The more I started doing that, the more I felt empowered, right? Because it made me feel a certain way and position myself and be assertive and say, yes, I'm a leader. You're going to listen to me right now, So I've kind of found a way to play and trick the system and really enjoy it and walk in there like, yes. Felicia Naiwa's Tebe, you didn't know. They didn't tell you about me. Here I am, So we have to do that. And thank you so much, Lisa, for that encouragement, because we need it. I think as a young Black girl, growing up in like so many restrictions around, having to break down walls, not having the best education system, maybe having to deal with teenage pregnancy, having to deal with divorce, having to deal with so many things, right? It's just so hard. So being able to encourage ourselves rather is very, very imperative, right? How do we deal with the pull me down syndrome, that we tackle on a daily, where fellow females are just not for us, where if you're passing, how do we maneuver that? How do we look past it and really be for each other? Because it trends, right? It trends where we say girls for girls, hashtag female power, hashtag girls do this, hashtag woo, us. But we're not really practicing it, because I've been in situations with a lot of females that are posting the way they are supporting each other. But when it's time to really support, the person's not with me anymore, because I don't know, I'm not fashionable enough, I'm not trending enough, I'm not the this or the that or the. How do we genuinely, and I say this from the pit of my heart, how do we genuinely create a real sisterhood?
Yeah, you're asking us to solve now like brain cancer. I don't know.
Just a little bit.
No, look, I always advocate working with women. I've had my biggest rises from fellow women. I've been in dark places, under attack. And then it's fellow Black women producers who will message me. And it's not like we're not besties. It's not like we like hang out and have brunch on Sundays or whatever. No, it's just like other women in your position who knows what it can be like, who send you a message going, yo, hold on, girl. And you're just like, okay, sharp. And then when they're going through something, you also, just a simple text, or you have like WhatsApp groups and share information, that kind of thing. I've also had my moments where my biggest kind of attacks in the industry came from other women, and I was just confused, because maybe we didn't see eye to eye, we didn't know what we didn't see each other from our vantage, our different standpoints. But I think just being genuine in your intentions is the most important thing. So your intent is the most important thing. And if you guys can't see that for each other, then move on and find other people who are like-minded. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. And then, information is gold where we are. It's gold. Share with each other. There's a lot of like gatekeeping about like, okay, how do we apply to this fund? Oh no, you need to like whatever for my time. Like if it's not much for you, share, so that's my currency. That's how I get by. That's how other Black women have been for me also. And that's for me, that's the biggest thing I can say is that, share information together, check on each other if you can. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Nadine.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like just realizing that thing of if you win, I win, and like Tsecho, like you've called me up like just to say congratulations for things when you do well. I'm so freaking proud of you. Like we met like as Durban talents or
like yonks ago now, like a decade now,
but
whatever.
It's like, and we also, we're in different cities, so we don't see each other often, but Tsecho is definitely one of those people that I really look up to, and when, for example, when lockdown started, there were a couple of, sisters in the film industry who sent me messages, like Carmen Sangian, Judy Naidu, those people who reached out. I was like, wow, it's just that thing of seeing each other,
Yeah.
Happy, I'm gonna shoot my shot here, Happy, one day, please.
Do it.
One day.
Do it.
that project will happen.
It will happen. No, it will happen.
It will happen.
It will happen.
To the universe.
I'm putting it out there. But and hearing Lisa also speak now, I'm like, yo, and for me, there are those women that I'm just like, yo, I can't do it without you. Even like to talk about mental health things that are going on, right? Because I think we always expected to be so strong and to show up in a certain way, and to phone up that other woman and be like, yo, I'm actually not coping or whatever. And yeah, so women in this industry have, like I thought, I did have that incident of someone, a fellow woman, saying you're too soft, and I didn't, that didn't go down well for me. But because other women, especially Black women, we've always just like, I don't know, has been the source of strength. And like Sejo, like I said, how long do we know each other? Like a decade or something like that, right? And to see how you've moved, yeah, it's just like, it's amazing for me.
Thank you. You too. I mean, it's amazing, also watching the people that you came up with, it doesn't always have to be like someone glamorous. It's just knowing the people around you and then watching how you're all rising and the moves that you're making, being there to support when like there's a screening of a fellow filmmaker in your city, then you're just like, hey man, that was great, just to send a fellow message and just be like, well done, keep going. And sometimes because it gets hard, sometimes that's all that's keeping someone in from like, not going off to call centers. I don't know, it can get tough,
Yeah,
it can get tough, especially as producers and documentary producers. Things take too long and it's all on you, and things are just not happening, and then you're just like, yo, I'm gonna go and sell books, I don't know what to do now. But then in the end you push through, and sometimes it's just other people seeing you being there, grafting that keeps you going. Yeah.
Like, even honestly, like sometimes I see another woman say a film is screening somewhere. I haven't seen the film, but I'm like, yeah, let's go watch it. We must go watch it.
Yeah. Tell people. Yes, exactly.
I don't even know what this is about, but she made it, so you have to go see it.
Yeah. Can I come in? I just want to say something about what the pulling down syndrome, amongst women in the film industry. I think as female filmmakers, right? We are going through a lot, and we have like this big wall that we need to climb. Like first, as us as filmmakers, so that we're able to create that boys club, like now my fellow like colleagues, cinematographers, haven't needed to go through as many hurdles, right? So I feel like once we've gone through these hurdles, like female filmmakers, then the sisterhood will form a lot easier and a lot better, like unforced. Like there's great institutes like Swifts, and people are trying to create, we're trying to create the sisterhood. But I feel like there's a lot that we need to get through in order for it to become organic, because right now we all have good intentions of supporting each other, like the WhatsApp groups, they're sending each other texts. That's all great support, and like you were saying, Tshego, it's sometimes that it's only that text that you needed to receive, Mara, I think once we get to a level of like sitting at the big tables and having these conversations where we are fully transformed, and I hate the word transformed, but once we don't like get to, like when you get a call by a producer, you don't get a hiccup to talk about your rate, like those kind of things. You know, once we ourselves are elevated, you know, it's gonna be easier to open up the doors. Because right now I feel like partly what's holding us back and not being able to open up doors and give each other passes is because above us there's still somebody. Above us there's still some white male that's in charge, you know. So as much as your intentions and your wants are to give your black sisters a pass, there's always too many people and too many ears, and mostly you find that it's white folk. It's like your boss, they had somebody else in mind, you know. When you're thinking the best person to replace me for this gig, you know, you're thinking about a sister that is qualified, that deserves a position more than anybody else, for example. You know, I think it's coming. It feels good to see there's more support. Like, if I think back to when I started, sitting here having this conversation, as an example, you know, it's like light. It's showing things are changing slowly, but they are changing. You know, hopefully my loader right now, who's like 24 years old, that I've been training, hopefully by the time she gets on the DPing seat, hopefully she wouldn't have to deal with a lot of the kak that I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, you're not happening, and it's exciting. It's exciting that all of us want this sisterhood, like the boys club, because boys do.
They do it. They do it.
Also, you know, unapologetic. Like, they don't need a reason. They just synergy. The next thing they clap.
Yeah.
You know? Next thing they're causing havoc. So I think those things, when they leave us, whatever those vibes are, then it's gonna be easier for us to come together. And once we get there, goes on you. That's all. That's all I.
One way. Makala.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. How do we so we know that not everybody is privileged to go and, you know, study at AFDA or at Verts to really further this love and passion of the industry, right? So how does this self-taught DOP or, you know, self-taught producer, how can they really harness their craft or kind of develop? What mediums or what's accessible that's out there that they can just tap into to ensure that they're continuously developing themselves? Because we know that for the Black folk, you know, our parents are still catching up to this thing of, you know, saving up, investments, have a study account for your child. These are things that are still there in the background. And that's a fact for our society. So how can we encourage the self-taught or the person that has this natural love, this natural talent for the industry to actually harness their craft? Where do they go?
I didn't go to film school, and I'm glad
did I.
Because I think that
is it Nadine or Nadine?
Nadine is the only one. Privilege.
Hey guys. I'll tell you that story.
I was going to go to film school. I was accepted to go to a very prestigious film school in America. I didn't go. I met someone, smoked weed for 2 years. And
Chessa.
So I believe that if I had gone to film school, it would have narrowed me like this. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So because I think that I don't have a blueprint that people have when they go to film school. So my canvas is very wide, and I can push the envelope, I can push the boundary. And as a result, there are women who are opening opportunities for other women. Women like Ava DuVernay, everywhere she works, she will say, find the women directors, find the women camera people. And so, you know what I'm trying to say? I mean, right now I'm doing a project on LGBT, and another thing is I'm going to dedicate my time to women and LGBTIQ issues. I'm doing an LGBTIQ project right now, and it was important for me to employ a lesbian. It's important for me to have transgender people on that project, and I have them. Do you know what I mean? The person who's the director is Twiggy on that project, and I'm saying, who do you want to mentor? Please mentor a young lesbian woman or a transgender or they, because I think that if you are doing a project like that, only people who are in that space will do a better job in actually telling that story. And at the end of the day, as the producer, I'm going to have a better product. You know what I'm trying to say? But before I leave, one of the things that really, really, I don't think people know the story. Miriam Makeba went to Mandela's inauguration, and Miriam Makeba was not allowed to go in because she did not have a pass. Whether she left it at home, and some stupid doorkeeper said to her, I am sorry, you don't have a pass. So this disrespect of artists continuously. And when I think about that story, for me, it's very, very painful. And when I'm constantly being disrespected, I choose my battles. Sometimes I don't fight them. Sometimes I don't get involved because I believe that at the end of the day, if I look at people who came before me and they achieved so much more than I am achieving, that in itself is enough for me to just keep going. So as women, we need to also learn how to choose our battles. I love what you were saying, Haope, because I'm not as optimistic. I'm really not, because women have been vicious where I am sitting. Black women and white women. White men have not been a problem. A lot of them have mentored me. You know, so I like the fact that you as young Black women, you are seeing those changes. You are optimistic. You know what I'm trying to say? And you are pushing it. Because I'm a feminist. I'm a feminist filmmaker. So for me, it's music. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And the people who support me are people who are really, really not in film, some of them. Some do. You know what I'm talking about my age and all of that. And it's really, 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 really tough. So I think it's fantastic if women can see the woods for the trees, can climb on each other, can support each other, because it is happening. You know, people are doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Haupe, any thoughts from your side?
You know, I was just thinking, like, I think, let's say 10 out of 10 directors that hire me, 8 are easily women. You know? So there are spaces where like women are looking out for each other. And I think my career has been sheltered and moved forward mainly by women, you know, women that believe it's important to hire other women, you know, first and foremost. So, and a big shout out to all those producers that continue, like what you were saying, that continue to hire diverse people in their crews, you know, because it's 2020, to be honest. If you cannot hire people that are gay, and like transsexual, like you don't have representation, then also you're not transforming the industry. Like this industry, we need a lot of transformation. Like every time I talk to fellow like filmmakers on different forums that are overseas, I get blown away by the amount of transform. Like they also still struggling, and they would be the first people to say, especially my Black American filmmaker friends, they are the ones to first say, yo, sis, it's a bit of a struggle out here. You know, the studios are still trying to suppress us. The unions, you know, they're the first. Mara, when they get the opportunity, they're the first people to make sure that the transformation happens. So a shout out to the producers and execs that have that mind, you know, and that are giving that the most diverse group of people to partake in changing the face of the industry. because I think that's the only way forward. Otherwise, we're gonna be stuck. People that are, still telling Black stories in not so nice ways, shooting our skin tones in non-pretty ways. So yeah, big shout out to those execs.
Thanks, Khaupi. And I mean, so I'll always go back to the fact that it's Women Month and we are so special and amazing, in all of my time in the industry and the experience that I've had, the opportunity to be in different projects, I realized that everything that's touched by a female is somewhat more different, right? And again, like I'm saying, it's Women Month, so I'm going to blow our horn until Fantuka af, right? I know that anything that I touch is going to yield certain results, because I will not rest, I will not sleep until it's at the Naiwa level that I want it to be, So I want to go around to everybody for you to basically complete a sentence that says, everything I touch will be, like I know everything I touch will be well organized. It will be beautiful. You will know that it was done in a heartfelt manner because everything that I do and commit to, I love, and that's a benefit of being a female. It just, naturally, we're just born with this greatness, So I'm going to go around. I want to hear from everybody. Everything I touch will be what, Tseho?
Groundbreaking. That's it. We'll be embracing new narratives, open up the spaces for us, because that's what I like. I like my stuff to go in new ways, in new places. So groundbreaking.
Nadine, everything you touch will be
liberating.
Yes!
No, I think it's always just like you want people to watch the work and see themselves, man, and say, yes, that is me, that is my mother, my father, auntie, uncle, sister, brother, whoever, my sibling. Like, I see myself in this work. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I feel you, girl. Khaupi?
Everything I touch will be global and transforming. I really hope that the narrative, like every time I'm behind that camera, looking through that viewfinder, I really hope that the stories that I'm telling are authentic and they get to touch the people at home in whatever way, be touched. It's okay. But I'm hoping that like everything that I touch would be global and tell a true narrative. Like, yeah.
Olisa, everything you touch will be? You unmute.
Muted.
I want it to be a spiritual experience because I believe that what I do, I work from spirit. And I'll see you guys at the Oscars.
Yes,
can I say
girl. Yes. Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
We have to write it
vision board.
Yes.
It's on the vision board.
Can I say something? It's not to say for me that is my highest. No. I've climbed better mountains. But I also know the power of my space when I speak to younger women. And when I shine my light under the table, I don't give them permission to shine. So when I shine my light above the table, I'm also allowing that thing, that girl at Orange Farm who's watching, who's saying no. And I tell them that, but you can make better films than I do. So it's knowing the space that you are in, claiming it, but also spreading it for every other little girl to say that it is possible and I can do better. So it's really from that space that I am speaking from. It's not because I think that it's the best or highest accolade or I am working. No, no, no. We know there are many projects that have gotten Oscars and they are shit. But it's important when we speak to bring the young ones along, to know the power of intention. Because we are all here not because we are talented only, but we are here because the power of the mind, the power of the spirit, that is what has always pushed us. And that is what, that is what, you know, that's what, you know, you see, that's the game changer. That no matter how much you want to be a filmmaker, if you don't want it that much, you won't be a filmmaker. So that's why I say that.
That is powerful. How do we, with all the great work that we're doing, right? Because it's so important that, you know, when we pass on and Father God is like, come back home, right? It's so important that there's something left behind for the next generation of powerful, beautiful, impactful women to follow up on, you know, to kind of run very far with that baton. How can we create this footprint? You know, how do we create a footprint where we know that, you know, in years to come, like my firstborn daughter, Minentle, is 9 years old, right? But when she's 19 and she wants to find out about the great Xoliswa, how can we create this footprint? You know, that is so important, because I've been on so many projects that when I go online and kind of research our Black beautiful women, and there's not much that you're finding. There's not much out there when you want to Google and research our amazing. You need to go in the corners and in the bundus, and in the information is not readily available. How do you think we, the people here and other people listening, watching, can start creating this very important footprint?
I'll go. I think a few years ago, like with the Instagram and, you know, a friend of mine shared a hashtag called, like, she used to say it all the time, like, visibility is key, you know? And I love that. And I took it on, you know? I took it on because we're very modest, you know? For the longest time, I was like, no, all I want to do is just shoot and just shoot beautiful stuff. And I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to be, you know, and then Maba Tumuntu, you know, said to me a while back, she's like, dude, if you're not on social media, if you're not taking pictures and you're not tagging yourself and you are not being loud, one day in the future, like you were saying, you know, they're going to be looking for there's female cinematographers from South Africa, and your name won't appear. And it won't appear because you're not being visible.
Yeah.
She was like, it is very important to throw away that thing of wanting to be modest and wanting to be, oh, I can't go. It's like, no, people must see you. You have to be seen. You have to play in these spaces where all these boys are playing. Because the one thing they don't have to do is announce themselves, because it just comes easier, you know? They sort of born with it. But for you, it's different, because being one of a very few in the world, you know, because they're a very handful of cinematographers that are female and Black. She's like, you have to be known. So take those selfies. Like, she's like, you've got a smartphone, right? Make it be smart. Use it to your advantage. Like now, unlike back in the day, we have these platforms. We have these platforms where you can go on, take these pictures. Like if you get on set and this is the biggest set of your life. There's trailers, there's extra trailers, there's things. She's like, like take those videos, you know, share with us. Even if you don't share it, keep it with you, but so that it's archived, so that it is available. You know, when you get invited to talks, make yourself, avail yourself. At first, I was like, No, another female talk. Like I can't do it every year. August, it's kind of becoming boring. I was getting into that cycle of it's not really necessary. We spoke about those issues last year, August. Why do you have to speak about these issues again this year in August? She's like, you have to be visible the whole year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the way of keeping the footprint and making sure that you can go to gala at Vets and it will be archived in the history of making the film industry become what it's going to become in South Africa.
You're so right.
I just want to touch. Sorry, I just wanted to touch on what Khapu was saying on taking archives, because most of us have these phones now. I wouldn't say all, but most of us have these phones. Working in archive, it's so difficult to find ourselves. And I'm sure Felicia and Nadine have had this experience, especially in South African archive, because most of it is overseas. It's owned overseas. Yeah. So just the very act of us having this material that we take and that we own is already a revolution, because now when we have to make stories about ourselves, the stuff is here now. You're making a story about a young Black whatever in South Africa at this time, or even in the future, and they want to look back now. It's not the same as us going to SABC. Even SABC is worse because it started in 1976. So if you want to know a story about 1960 or 1975, you have to now go to BBC. You have to go to the Scandinavians, and it's in euros, it's in dollars, it's in what. And it's just like, it's a mess. So documenting yourself, center yourself, make sure that you're here, because when people look back, if you're not there, then you're not part of it, And yeah.
And I think another thing that's key for us to kind of action or remember when it comes to us supporting each other and creating this footprint is, reposting each other. Nadine said earlier that, if they're saying there's a new movie, she's like, oh, I am there. You have to. It doesn't matter how good or average or bad it is. If it's local, me, I'm there. Me, I'm in the front row. I bought a ticket and I'm going to stick it out. My husband knows. I'm like, or whether you like it or not. We have to do that for each other, because if we don't, no one else will. We know our stories. Yeah. We want them to be told well. So let's love our stories, So support, repost, send a clip, I don't know, put a picture, make a selfie. I was here supporting Nadine, post it so that everybody knows of the great work that you've been doing, And I think on one of the projects that I had the honor to collaborate on was Gokman Meritwala, and I think when we did it, for us, it was honoring this living legend at the time. We never thought, right? I think you never sit and imagine, one day when this person passes on, no. You don't think about that, right? Our focus was based on honoring this living legend and kind of grasping and getting her greatness, right? So that one day, yes, there's a reference to refer to. And it was so beautiful to see how South Africans appreciated that effort, right? South Africans appreciate that contribution. And I think that's the validation that sometimes we need, right? When we repost each other, when we support each other and say, Ed Khaupi, this is you, well done, Ed Koliswa, this is you, well done. Those are the things that we need to do to create the system that shows that we trust each self. We see the value in each other. If we don't do it, no one else will. If we don't buy Black, no one else will. If we don't value Black, no one else will. If we don't invest in the Black girl child, no one else will, So, Kaliso, I don't know if you have something to say about that. You're on mute.
You're muted.
You should ask for a new ministry of youth and gender, because there is no agenda without gender at the top. And I think you're a fantastic advocate for that. I mean, I'm not on social media. I've never taken to it. And Haupe, you are so right. And everybody is on my case, my friends and everyone. I'm just not on social media, and I'm not sure why. I think part of it is I want a more private life. And at the same time, I know I'm doing my legacy a disservice, so to speak. But I'm not that brave. You know what I mean? I'm not on Facebook. I am on Twitter, but I'm not active. Only so people who want to find me, they can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. So if you want to find me, you can find me. But I'm not on social media. Those are the things that I was talking about, that I am here to learn from young people, because you are right. You are so right. What Haupish wants to say something? Don't touch me.
I want to say, I think you know a 19-year-old, 20-year-old somebody is wanting to get in the industry and is wanting to be your mentee. That somebody will happily handle your social media account, will happily guide you hold your hand until you are comfortable. Because also I respect not wanting to be on for private life, and I completely get it, even if you have like an account that's just a business account, just you tweet for just retweets and for us to know what you're up to, so we can retweet, so that even younger filmmakers can get to know who you are.
I take your point, and I am on record to say that I am going to be on social media very, very minimally. And I am going to find, I've got 4 interns here, and one of them is doing a master's at Wits University. So I'm going to ask her how I can do this without too much exposure.
Amazing.
Please, and tag all of us at Felicia, at Sejo, at everybody. Can you see me, please?
Raised hands.
Please. So I know we're literally left with about, I think, 11 minutes. So just to kind of wrap it up before we get into questions, one important question that generally comes up for a lot of young producers who are, applying for funding and want support, and fill in all of these forms and get so many "we regret to inform you" letters. What have you learned, to kind of like what puts a person in a regret box? Is it, minimizing the amount of summaries you put across to explain your project, or is it the look of your whole presentation? What is it? Like those look, I know we don't really have the big answer as to why a project might be rejected, especially when you believe in it, but there are little things that keep popping up. Like I've learned that, get to the point. What is it that you want to do? Who is it going to benefit? How are you going to do it? Those are little things that I've learned. But I'd like to hear from you, with all of the great experience that you have, for the young, upcoming filmmaker, TV producer, to understand what can put them in a "we regret to inform you" box.
Okay, the first thing that I believe, when you've come out of film school, I think that for me, the first film that I made, I used my own money. I probably got my first funding from the NFVF 10 years later, when I had been in the industry. I still get a lot of regrets. I don't take it personally, because also I've got this spiritual thing going on with me, whereby I believe that there's something better out there for me. And if something is not mine, it's not mine. So I get a lot of regrets, even until now. And I think that where there is a will, there is a way. You'll make that film. People are more comfortable when you show initiative. But to think that your first film, you should get funding, I actually think it is wrong for any funder to give you money, actually, before you've actually proved yourself, because the industry is very, very difficult to even stay in. So show me what you have done before someone gave you money.
Yeah.
So, any advice from your side on that?
I would say, first of all, know who you're applying to. I think people get caught up in what it is they want to get across, right? And you don't find out what it is the person that you're asking money from wants. So if you're going for the NFVF, what are they trying to promote? What are they how do they what are the key things that they're looking for, and how do you fit into that vision? So that's a very important thing for me. There's always keywords, like find out, read extensively, and find out, what are they looking for, so that the person doesn't get fatigued, because they go through so many proposals.
Yeah.
And if it's just, if they just keep checking them again because the person is just not talking to what they asked about, just find out what exactly it is. There was one other thing, but I've forgotten it now, but I think maybe that's probably the most important thing. Free resources online, literally. Filmmaking is the easiest thing to get into. It's hard maybe to stay, but the easiest to get into, which is why it's such an important industry to support in order to alleviate unemployment, etc., etc. I'm not going to get political, but the resources to equip you to do anything are available. You don't need to go to an AFTA. You don't need to go to NY Film Academy or whatever. How to write a script, literally, please. If you're on Facebook, you can go to Google and type in how to write a script. The things are there, industry standards are there. There's free resources on how to format your script. There's a great resource called No Film School, which is a site, and it's also a great presence on social media. Go there, find out how people are doing it on their own, literally like shooting on their phone and getting into festivals, or the resources are there. It's really about how you go after them. And then if you're going to ask people for money to invest in your dream, how do you attract those people? So back to the point of what I was saying, how do you tailor your proposal to be what they can say, oh, look, this is something we're interested in and we want to invest in.
Yeah, I also think I would also say people in terms of resources, like the Sundance masterclasses, they're all free and they're great.
Yeah.
There's one now on how to put together a pitch, like a dossier, and it's 3 hours, right? But they really break down every heading, what to put in, from lookbook to like director's statement, very clear, very concise. So it's those documents that are usually the first thing that you would give, to a potential funder or producer. And so definitely check that out, because I think that, look, in documentary, what's key is like to prove that you have access to character, or can write about character very clearly. And there are great resources to help you know how to do that. I've also lately what I like doing is actually filming a bit with my characters first, and I call them like character sketches, so that I'm able to show this to potential funders and so on.
Thank you, Nadine. Just to cue everybody that anyone that might have questions, I'm gonna ask one last closing question to our amazing panel here. So guys, to just put your questions there on the YouTube comment tab there, and then after I ask this question, I'm just going to read a few questions and then get some answers. And then I think you guys know that you can easily also contact the GFC for any information that you need. They're great and they'll hook you up with the answers. And if that fails, Google, just like Tsecho said, so let's connect with each other. I think on the posters, you'll see we've got our social media handles. Inbox us, we will share all of this knowledge. So my final question to you amazing, beautiful ladies is, what legacy are you building? So years to come, when we Google you, what's the one main thing that needs to always stand out about you? So what legacy are you building? And I know maybe you've never thought about it. Like I was saying because my husband and I were playing this game yesterday where I'm like, okay, I've practiced for kusasa. And he was like, whoa, this question. I'm like, you know, I'd like to know, learning from someone, what legacy they're building. So if you don't really have an answer, that's fine. But I'd like to know, what legacy are you building? And Alisa?
You know what? It doesn't matter. Or for me, that thing of what legacy, no, it doesn't matter. What I want is to have demystified the process of filmmaking. Yeah. I would want young people who come from poor backgrounds, impoverished, who didn't think that it was possible to dream and to be somebody through film. That's really, really, you know what I mean, for me. I'm not, in fact, even when I mentor people, I don't mentor middle-class kids. I don't, because they don't need me to mentor them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, for me, it's which child somewhere saw me and said, yes, that's what I want to do, but I want to do it better. That's all.
Khaupi?
Yeah. I think I'm going to echo what Scorsese said. You know, for me is, like I keep on saying, it's such a daunting responsibility to be called one of the only female cinematographers in South Africa, Black. You know, it's such a heavy burden to be carrying. You know, so on every gig that I get, I insist to always train like a girl that comes from a disadvantaged home, you know, like no middle class, because I came up through that system. You know, I didn't go to film school, but somebody gave me a chance, and I've been feeling like if I could clone myself so that if I can have me doing 10 jobs at the same time, so that I can train 2 girls on every job, I feel like I would have created the transformation that I'd like to see, you know, because it's hard. Producers are like, oh no, COVID, we can't get more a trainee. And I beg them. I'm like, if I go on a long job for 10 weeks and I cannot train not even one girl, I have failed myself. I have failed the system that I've come through, you know, and have closed doors. So for me, if I can transform and introduce cinematography or filmmaking to as many Black girls as possible in my lifetime, I'd be happy. I'd be very, very happy, you know. And also if I could encourage producers to make that make it a habit, so that even with other DPs that don't have trainees in their departments, tell them that they need to have trainees. Tell them they need to have Black girl trainees, you know. And that's how let's start that system on every job. Make sure that you have a trainee, if you can, in every department. That would be amazing. That's a kind of legacy I think I'd want to have.
Thank you, Khaupi. Tshego?
Echoing everyone else. But also just to add, I guess the legacy that I want to leave also is work that stands that stands the test of time, you know?
Yeah.
Something we can look forward to in 40 years and it still holds the punch that it did 5 years ago. I would say, you know, I've really done something. So it's a legacy that my kids can also be proud of. You know, I think of people that came before us, you know, Jibril Diop Mambeti, Osman Semben, people that kind of shaped filmmaking on the continent as we know it now. If my work can reach that, then I would say that's the kind of legacy that I would have wanted to leave. And also, again, yeah, exactly as Sis Xoliso and Khaupi are saying, train someone, I always also have people that I train on my productions. But we had our first female trainee in the camera department last year. I was so impressed with myself. It's something that I will carry on. Help you. Maybe I'll hit you up if you have contacts, so we can always have someone, in our departments. So, yeah.
Thanks to Nadine.
Yeah, what everyone has been saying is like, it's definitely inspiring. And I think in terms of legacy, it's definitely increasing the accessibility to this industry. And also, I think the conversation around archive is so important, right? Because like Seho said, a lot of our archive is from other countries. And, there's real work to be done there. So it's not just, creating that content for now, but creating that content for a decade, 20 years from now. A young person can look back and look up our work and be like, the standard was set for me, to achieve beyond that, but that the archive is created by us, owned by us.
Thank you, Nadine. I think from my side, and again, I think like everybody was saying, everything that you guys are saying is just so powerful and true, the legacy that I am working on building is for the Black child to just have a backbone, for the Black child to refuse the bullshit, for the Black child to just speak up, for the Black child to just stand on top of the table and say, this is me, because often the young underprivileged Black child is so afraid to communicate their ideas and their dreams and to just flourish and be seen in their realness and how beautiful and amazing they are. So in the developmental work that I do is to just make sure that these kids come out of there and be like, hey, ngifundile, hey, ngidlile la, I am fed, I am nourished, but again, I think a big thank you to all of you beautiful Black women here right now on this platform with me. Thank you for sharing your greatness. Thank you for giving your time, and some of you guys spoke about the issue of mental health. I think in this whole lockdown process, a lot of our artists, a lot of our fellow industry professionals are going through so much. So let us know and really see that we're here for each other. Let's DM each other, like Tsuku was saying, and be like, hey girl, you're doing good. Let's reach out, let's speak, let's tell the truth and call out the bullshit, right? When we see it, call it out. Let me just, yes, Laliswa.
Please, there are beautiful, beautiful white women who
yes.
Women like Natalie Harhoff. She's been there, she shoots for me. Women like Caroline Carew, she has trained a lot of Black people in the industry. And there have been white women who have really, really shown solidarity with Black people, and they've understood transformation, and they have been there. So, you know what I'm trying to say? And we need to also salute those women to continue doing what they've always done. And there are some. There's Lauren Greenwald, do you know what I mean, who's in Cape Town. There are women out there, white women, who are also, in the trenches with us.
Thank you so much for that, Olisa, because yes, there are a lot of women, like females, in the struggle with us, Tiffany Papazano, Amanda Lane, I think the list can go on and on and on, Kamina Waldman. All of you guys are amazing. Let's go into that comment thingamajiggy. Let's see what the people are saying here. People are asking for Instagram handles, and the GFC is sharing that. That's great. We've got a comment here. It looks like a lot of beautiful comments, so I'm going to read some quickly. We've got somebody here that I know, Pumla Khatebo, who's actually my CEO from Birthmark, the agency that produces the amazing promos. She says, this talk was so refreshing and so insightful. You ladies spoke with such truth, honesty, and such power. Thank you for your time and for being vulnerable with us. You are loved and cherished. Thank you, Poems. Then there's Honey Bee here. Honey Bee says, shout out to the Gauteng Film Commission for creating this digital platform. Honey Bee was also saying, Xoliswa, we need your social media, please. Okay, let's move. A lot of people loving Gaupi here as well. Let's see. Taylor Clink says, claim your space, and she put a fire emoji.
Hey, Tyler! She's my older assistant.
Yay! Let's see this one here. Oh, Kanye Makubani says, we need to subsidize film studies for young filmmakers who want to study film and specialize in areas like DOP and directing. And I mean, this does speak very much to the issue of funding and ensuring that institutions or structures that are working to develop our industries are actually supported. That's very important. I'm trying to find questions here. A lot of positive stuff here. My fellow documentary, I salute you. Okay. Kanye again says, Xoliswa, my fellow documentary filmmaker, I salute you and all the ladies on the platform. Thank you so much, guys, for the beautiful, beautiful comments. Woo! Guys, this is overwhelming. I was looking for questions. I'm just getting beautiful things here. I'm just trying to scroll up to the top. Refilwe Somoro, I hope I said your surname right. She says, ladies, we need to stand up for ourselves no matter what the situation is or who the situation is. This industry is filled with ego, filled personality, and they will try their best to make work difficult. Yes, girl, Refilwe, we will stand up and we will tell them we are not taking that nonsense.
Yes, that's my loader. That's actually my loader.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's one to look out for.
Yay.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, there's a lot of beautiful shine on ladies from Tebogo Chipeya. Okay,
my cousin.
Yay! Okay, cool. So some of the questions that I've already passed through is because we've answered them, and those are questions on funding. So I think essentially most of the comments are very positive. Everybody's saying thank you for the platform. So I think thank you from all of us on this panel to you at home, you working at the corner office there and being like, I'm watching this thing no matter what. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. This was beautiful. It was insightful. And I think during this COVID lockdown time, we've actually realized the accessibility that's there before us in terms of just going onto Insta or be it Facebook. Let's have these sessions a lot where we just share, challenge each other, learn from each other. Like Sis Xoliswa had said, there's only so much you can do by yourself in your corner. Let's reach out and share the knowledge. Gauteng Film Commission, thank you so much for this amazing initiative for Women's Month. There's still, I know there's a whole lot more sessions every day. I think they started on Monday. There's still more tomorrow. So I encourage everybody to keep tuned in on the GFC YouTube page. Watch, learn, share, challenge. Thank you so much, Tshego, Nadine, Xoliswa, Gaupi. You guys are amazing. We love you. Thank you. Okay, before I actually get kicked out, I think it's a bad time. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. This is great.
Andrew Mlangeni really personifies the lesser known person who was able to carry on combining efforts.
A fighter. I saw a committed man. What he says is the truth, and you, the listener, should actually follow.
Mlangeni sacrificed his life to sit in prison for life. He was prepared to die.
We need sacrifices. People have to sacrifice.
Dedicated, committed comrade, a member of the Communist Party, a member of ANC, in the liberation movement. They called him the robot. It summed up his personality. You put the switch on and say, go, and he just keeps going. Nothing will make him stop.
I know what it is to fight for freedom. I expected to be in prison at some stage, at some time.
To be a good leader, you have to know how to be led.
Mijn naam is Kalina en ik is 12 jaar oud. Wat ik op aan, ik is bang om alleen te lopen. Van toe aan die pad had de vrouw bekracht. We is gezien hoe uit zo komen de bloed achter geweest. Hij zei Regina, maar dat is je choice, maar te zien het. Hij moet niet alleen lopen.
Over there is the school where the explosion took place. That is when 1976 erupted.
There were students along the way come up with slogans, Black Power. And everybody had to respond by lifting up your fist like that and also shouting back, Black Power.
So we started off in solidarity with students in Soweto, and then it very rapidly escalated.
The anger affected the workers, tsotsies, thugs, students and so on. So when that happened, everybody